Hello, and thank you for joining English Story Vault. Are you currently learning English? Wonderful. Let's enhance our English skills with a compelling story. Please remember to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's begin. We have significant news coming from the United States. It is a fact that the current U.S. president is Donald Trump. A major decision is the subject of widespread discussion. President Trump is contemplating the use of an extremely large bomb. This weapon represents the most powerful non-nuclear bomb. In the American arsenal, sources indicate he is considering it for strikes against targets in Iran. These facilities are situated deep underground and are dedicated to nuclear activities. If the United States deploys this bomb, it could signify America's entry into the war. A conflict is already underway between Israel and Iran. Using this bomb would make the United States a direct combatant in this struggle. President Trump has been sending mixed signals at times. He states that America must demonstrate strength and take action, emphasizing the need to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. However, he also expresses a desire for peace. He claims he is willing to negotiate with Iran to forge an agreement. President Trump's advisors are also divided. Some believe deploying the bomb is a necessary step. Conversely, others are concerned about igniting a major war. This places President Trump in a very difficult position. It is a moment of great seriousness. The decision he makes will have profound consequences for the United States and the entire world. Many are anxiously waiting to see what unfolds. This is a grave situation fraught with numerous dangers too. Old problems, new fights. The United States and Iran have a long history of troubled relations, dating back to 1979. Before 2015, they were at odds over Iran's nuclear program, while Iran claimed its ambitions were for energy. The U.S. feared they were for weapons. This led to a 2015 agreement known as the JCPOA, which placed strict limitations on Iran's nuclear development. The deal also included the United Kingdom, France, Germany, China, and Russia. An international agency monitored Iran's compliance. However, President Trump was critical of the agreement in 2018. He withdrew the United States from it and reinstated harsh sanctions on Iran, a policy termed maximum pressure. Following this, Iran intensified its nuclear activities. Between 2019 and 2020, Iran produced more enriched nuclear material at higher purity levels. Experts now fear Iran could develop a bomb more rapidly, though there is no definitive evidence of an active bomb program today. After Trump's presidency, his successor attempted to rejoin the deal. Negotiations took place in 2021 and 2022, but ultimately stalled. Iran demanded more sanctions be lifted than the U.S. was willing to concede. The discussions never resumed. Iran continued to advance its program with more efficient machinery. Mutual distrust between America and Iran persisted. Iran maintained its program was peaceful, while the U.S. and its allies remained worried about potential weaponization. Then, a new conflict erupted in June 2025. Israel and Iran began attacking each other. Israel struck first, claiming Iran was on the verge of producing a nuclear weapon. Iran retaliated with missiles and drones aimed at Israel. Reports suggested that American soldiers may have also been hit. The U.S. repositioned military assets closer to the Middle East. The conflict swiftly escalated into a limited war between Israel and Iran. It holds the potential to expand significantly and rapidly. America is monitoring the war with great attention. President Trump returned to the U.S. to deliberate on the course of action. The United States has not yet attacked Iran directly. Reports indicated that America informed Israel it would not participate in the initial strikes. President Trump has stated his desire for peace talks. Yet, he has also insisted that Iran must abandon its nuclear weapon ambitions. Now the United States faces a choice. Will it enter the conflict and attack Iran, or will it pursue a purely diplomatic path? This is a monumental decision. The world is waiting to see America's next move in this long-standing problem that has evolved into a new fight. 3. The secret mountain, Bays Ferdow, stands as a crucial facility in Iran, dedicated to nuclear work. This means Iran conducts activities there that can contribute to the production of nuclear material. The site is uniquely constructed to protect it from military strikes. It is situated deep within a large mountain near the city of Qom. Building it so far underground makes it incredibly difficult for other nations to successfully attack it with bombs. The mountain, combined with layers of concrete, provides excellent protection for the facility's internal components. Fordo was initially a site for testing machinery used to create nuclear material. However, since 2013, Iran has been using it to produce more of this material. Inside Fordo, Iran operates machines known as centrifuges. These centrifuges can enrich nuclear material at a faster rate than those at other locations. Experts believe that if Iran utilizes this facility to its full capacity, it could acquire enough material for a bomb in a shorter time frame. This risk makes Fordo a site of major concern for other countries, especially Israel. Israel views Fordo as a top priority target. Its goal is to prevent Iran from getting any closer to possessing nuclear material for a weapon. For Israel, neutralizing Fordo is critical for its national security. However, striking a facility built so deep inside a mountain is a formidable challenge. The source material highlights just how well protected Fordo is. It is buried approximately 80 meters, or about 262 feet underground. Beneath dense rock and reinforced concrete, this level of fortification makes it nearly impossible for most conventional bombs to penetrate. Israel's military possesses advanced aircraft and munitions, but it lacks the specific type of bomb or aircraft required to attack Fordo effectively. Their standard bombs cannot penetrate deep enough through the rock and fortifications to damage the critical equipment inside. Furthermore, Israel does not have the specialized planes necessary to carry the largest bombs designed for such deep targets. Because Israel cannot reach Fordo on its own, it is turning to the United States for assistance. The source notes that only America possesses the military capabilities needed for a target like Fordo. The U.S. has a specialized large bomb. It's often called a bunker buster, which is engineered to penetrate deep underground. This bomb is the Massive Ordnance Penetrator MOP. It is the largest conventional bomb in the American arsenal, only specific U.S. aircraft. The B-2 bombers are capable of carrying and delivering this extremely heavy weapon. Israel contends that only the United States, using this combination of plane and bomb, has a chance of destroying the Fordo facility. This is why the decision over attacking Fordo is so urgent now, and why American assistance is essential if Israel aims to eliminate this deeply buried site. 4. America's giant bomb. The United States possesses an enormous bomb known as the MOP, which stands for Massive Ordnance Penetrator. It is the biggest non-nuclear bomb in the American arsenal. It has a weight of approximately 30,000 pounds, comparable to the weight of 2 adult elephants. The MOP is engineered to penetrate deep into the earth to destroy highly fortified hidden structures. It is a precision-guided munition. Many nations conceal vital facilities, such as nuclear sites, deep beneath thick layers of rock or concrete, making them very hard to strike with conventional bombs. The MOP is built differently. It features an incredibly durable casing that allows it to travel through thick rock and concrete before detonating deep underground. This design helps to annihilate the hidden structures. The MOP is significantly larger and more powerful than most other bombs, as it is specifically constructed to burrow into the ground and explode. However, even the MOP has limitations regarding its penetration depth. Iran's Fordo facility is buried very deep under a mountain. At a depth of about 295 feet, the MOP is engineered to penetrate around 200 feet underground. This means Fordo is located nearly 100 feet deeper than the MOP can reliably reach. A single MOP bomb might not penetrate deep enough to fully obliterate Fordo's most critical sections. It could inflict damage, but perhaps not destroy the primary equipment. To truly neutralize Fordo, the United States might need to deploy more than one MOP bomb. Military analysis suggests that a B-2 bomber might have to drop several bombs on the exact same spot, which would be an exceptionally challenging military operation. only very specific aircraft can carry. The MOP bomb over great distances while remaining difficult to detect. These are the B-2 Spirit bombers, which are stealth aircraft. Only the United States operates these planes, capable of long-range flight with the MOP. No other nation, including Israel, possesses them. Therefore, if the U.S. chooses to strike Fordo, it would almost certainly involve sending B-2 planes armed with the MOP. This underscores how essential this giant bomb is for attacking deeply buried targets like Fordo. It stands as America's unique weapon for combating hidden underground sites. 5. Trump's difficult choice. President Trump was confronted with an incredibly tough decision. He dedicated considerable time to contemplating the use of the large MOP bomb. This weapon was unique in its ability to penetrate very deep into the ground, making it possibly the only tool capable of hitting the protected Fordo nuclear site inside an Iranian. Mount and his team of government advisors held conflicting views. Some influential figures, such as Senator Lindsey Graham, were adamant about pursuing military action. They urged the president that America must prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon at all costs. They advocated for the immediate use of the large bomb. Senator Graham went so far as to say Congress should fund any necessary bombs and that U.S. aircraft should support an Israeli attack. These individuals believed a forceful approach was the only option. However, others strongly disagreed. Supporters of Trump's America First philosophy opposed committing American soldiers or aircraft to another conflict in the Middle East. Steve Bannon, former advisor, issued a warning that joining the conflict would deeply divide the nation. At home, a significant number of Trump's supporters shared this sentiment. Not wanting the U.S. to become entangled in another protracted and expensive war, President Trump himself communicated mixed messages to the public. At times he appeared very aggressive and prepared to strike Iran, tweeting that he might authorize an attack and using forceful language about ensuring Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. At other times, he seemed to favor peace, stating his hope for an agreement with Iran and mentioning that Iran appeared willing to negotiate. His special envoy was even engaged in secret discussions with Iran's lead negotiator. Trump repeatedly said America was aiming for a diplomatic resolution, even while discussing potential military action inside the White House. Trump convened meetings with his top national security advisors. They assembled in a secure room to closely examine the options. Should the U.S. deploy the large bomb and attack? Or should they concentrate all efforts on securing a last-minute deal with Iran? His advisors informed him the situation was critical, saying the clock is really ticking and a decision was needed promptly. President Trump had his own reservations. He questioned his advisors on whether using the MOP bomb would be guaranteed to destroy the Fordo facility deep within the mountain. He was not fully convinced it would definitively end Iran's nuclear program. He was deeply concerned about the potential consequences of an American attack, which could readily escalate into a much larger war. He felt immense pressure from Israel, which sought America's aid as it couldn't strike Fordo by itself. He also felt pressure from those demanding action and those urging for peace. He stated that he had not yet reached his final decision. He informed the public that while America possessed the capability to use the large bomb, this did not mean he would necessarily order its use. He wanted America to be prepared to strike if required, but hoped another solution could be found. He famously remarked that he prefers to make major decisions at the very last moment. President Trump was genuinely caught between two difficult paths, employing immense military power or making one final attempt at diplomacy. It was a crucial and challenging moment for him and his nation. 6. People at home speak up. Back in the United States, citizens held a wide range of opinions regarding the Iran situation. Should the nation prepare for a fight, or should it remain detached? Some of President Trump's supporters championed the America First principle. This ideology suggests America should prioritize its own domestic issues and avoid distant wars. They recalled previous conflicts in the Middle East, as those in Iraq and Afghanistan, which were prolonged and came at a high cost in both money and lives. Figures like Steve Bannon, a former aide to President Trump, cautioned against entering another war, stating that engaging in a fight with Iran could create anger and division within the country. However, other Americans believed the nation needed to project strength, asserting that Iran must be prevented from possessing nuclear weapons. Certain politicians in Washington, D.C., shared this view. Senator Lindsey Graham, a prominent political figure, stated that President Trump should use any bombs required if diplomatic talks failed. He further suggested that America should provide aid to Israel if necessary. Thus, even within President Trump's base, opinions were split. Some of his most ardent supporters were uneasy with the prospect of a new war, feeling that the U.S. should not become embroiled in conflicts between other nations. Politicians in Washington, D.C., from the opposing party were also not in agreement. Many Democrats expressed caution, reflecting on the lessons learned from past military engagements. They argued that initiating another major conflict would be extremely risky and costly for the United States. A significant portion of the American public was anxious about the possibility of a new long-term war. Initial polling indicated that many were experiencing war fatigue and believed the U.S. should not get involved in the conflict between Israel and Iran. Media outlets and commentators urged President Trump to continue pursuing negotiations, emphasizing the importance of finding a peaceful resolution. Members of the U.S. government also reminded the president of existing laws that require him to consult with Congress before initiating a war. Some argued that the use of a very large bomb, such as the MOP, should require congressional approval. The atmosphere in Washington, D.C., was one of high tension as people awaited President Trump's decision. His choice would reveal whether he would heed the calls for action or the warnings against war, and whether he would uphold his America First promise by avoiding foreign entanglements. 7. The world is watching. Nations across the globe monitored the situation with intense focus. They were deeply concerned about the conflict between Israel and Iran and were equally worried about the potential actions of the United States. European leaders were vocal in their calls for peace. Countries such as France, Germany, and the United Kingdom urged all parties to exercise restraint, stating that escalating the conflict into a larger war would be a disastrous outcome. European leaders held meetings with Iran's chief negotiator in an effort to find a peaceful solution to the crisis. They publicly advised both Israel and the U.S. against widening the war. The leaders of France and the UK issued public demands for an immediate cessation of hostilities. Germany's chancellor remarked that the use of large bombs was difficult to fathom. The NATO alliance also called on all sides to de-escalate. In the Middle East, many American allies were extremely nervous. Nations like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates feared a major war in their vicinity, concerned it could destabilize the entire region. They were also worried about the global oil supply, which is vital for the world economy. Iran's neighbors, including Turkey and Pakistan, strongly asserted that dialogue was the only viable path forward. Major powers like Russia and China also issued their own warnings. They stated that an American attack on Iran would be unjustified and could trigger a regional catastrophe. Iran's own leadership delivered firm warnings to America, declaring that Iran would not be defeated. They cautioned the United States that an attack would result in significant harm for America. A spokesperson for Iran's military threatened a very, very big fight if the U.S. joined the war at the United Nations. Member states convened a special session to address the danger. Iran argued that the UN should condemn Israel's actions and warned that if the U.S. attacked, it would be considered the primary aggressor. The U.S. representative at the UN countered that Iran needed to make peace and that its time was running out. The International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, which monitors nuclear sites, announced it would promptly dispatch inspectors to facilities in Iran. At times, U.S. military aircraft provided support to Israeli planes in the air. American troops stationed in countries near Iran were placed on high alert. Observers also kept a close watch on groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and others, as these groups could potentially open new fronts if the war expanded. Around the world, leaders and citizens were watching intently. America's allies worked tirelessly to prevent a major war. Diplomats explored every avenue to keep Iran engaged in talks. However, Israel and Iran were already in conflict, and Iran's leaders vowed not to concede. The coming days were critical. It would determine whether peace talks could succeed or if America would choose to enter the fight directly. The entire world was watching to see what would happen next. 8. What happens now? The question on everyone's mind is, what comes next? People are eager to know if the plan for the United States to use its largest mop bomb on Iran will actually be executed. Journalists are diligently trying to uncover the facts of this matter. Currently, no one can say with certainty what President Donald Trump will ultimately decide. This is an extremely serious and real situation. There are two primary outcomes that could unfold in the immediate future. One path is that America chooses to attack Iran. If President Trump authorizes the use of the large bunker buster bomb on targets like the Fordo nuclear facility and possibly others, the existing conflict could expand dramatically. Iran has stated unequivocally that it will retaliate forcefully against any American strike. This could involve Iran launching missiles and drones to strike Israel. It might also include attacks on American troops and military installations throughout the Middle East. Pro-Iranian groups in other nations, often referred to as proxies, could also initiate attacks against the U.S. or its allies. This scenario could easily spiral into a much longer and more complex war spanning the entire Middle East.